If you're listening right now to the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast, we know something about you. We know that you're obsessed with Little House on the Prairie.
For more than half a century, Little House on the Prairie, the series and the books have been bright lights for people all over the world who seek out goodness, decency, and human connection.
Here on the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast, we celebrate everything that made Little House so special.
The stories, the characters, the actors, and the messages that have made Little House iconic family television.
And a perfect counterpoint to a world that feels like it's going off the rails every day.
Where is Michael Landon when we need him most? I'm your host, Pamela Bob.
And I'm your prairie bitch, Allison Arngrim.
And I'm Dean Butler.
Our hashtag imaginary boyfriend. Join us for our loving, quirky, and often irreverent conversations about the finest family drama in the history of television.
And the imperfect people who made it that way.
In this third season, we are extremely grateful for the support of VisitSeeMeValley.com for their continuing sponsorship of Little House on the Prairie and the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast. Well, hello, bonnet heads. It is I, Pamela Bob, your host, creator and star of Living on a Prairie, and your super fan. I am here with our wonderful prairie bitch, Allison Arngrim, and our hashtag imaginary boyfriend, he's Dean Butler. Hi, guys. I'm very excited for today. How are you?
Yeah, no, we're good. We've had this one queued up for a while, so we are delighted to have this conversation today.
Yeah. All right, we're going to get right to it, but I will say from UBN Go and Prairie Partners and VisitSeeMeValley.com and you, our patrons, you know where you are. This is the Little House on the Prairie 50th Anniversary podcast, and we have an incredibly special guest today. Dean, do you want to take the honors here?
Well, today we're not talking about a specific episode. Today we're talking about a special guest on two specific episodes. One, the reincarnation of Nellie, and the first of the Little House on the Prairie series ending movies, Look Back to Yesterday. We'll certainly talk about those shows and what she did in those shows, but of greater interest, of course, is she herself. Allison, let's talk about who our guest is today.
Okay. What does she not do? Can I just say? She has been in everything. A brief bio. Brief. She's an American actress, singer, and director, and everything else from Houston, Texas, who is known for playing, yes, Jan Levinson from The Office, and Trudy Monk from Monk. She also acted in The Rocketeer. I love that freaking movie. 27 Dresses 17 again. Hannah Montana, the movie. Transparent, The Bold Type, and The Hot Chick. Yes, say hello to the versatile and talented actress Melora Hardin.
Hi.
Hello, Melora Hardin.
Hi, Melora Hardin.
Hi.
I mean, I feel like that bio does not do you justice because we've done everything.
Well, it would take way too long to read an extensive bio, so we have to do this compressed bio.
Yeah, absolutely.
For Melora,
Yeah.
but
y'all go to her IMDb. It's insane.
Incredible. Really incredible. Melora, I understand that you said before we started, you are in Ireland tonight. What are you doing in Ireland?
I am making my first ever musical movie. I'm actually making a movie called Drummer Boy the Movie, which actually I think your audience will really love. It's the band For King and Country. They did a video called Drummer Boy that kind of went viral, and their fans liked it so much that they made a movie that's sort of inspired by their version of Drummer Boy, and it's coming out in November of this year.
My God.
That's how fast
Oh my
it's
God,
happening.
that's a fast turn,
in
Melora.
celebration of our 250th anniversary of the country, and it's really exciting for me. I mean, I've sung in movies before, but I've never done I've been on Broadway, but I've never done a musical movie where you like burst into song because of an emotional moment, which is so much fun. So I'm really enjoying it a lot.
Well, we're going to look forward to hearing more about that
as
that comes. I think we need to step right into, because of course we are the Little House 50th Anniversary podcast.
Yes.
We need to step right in there. Pamela, why don't you jump in here?
Oh, well, yes, we are going to talk about other things, but for now, let's stick to the Prairie because that's what the people are here all about. But you have a really interesting place in Little House on the Prairie because you played two different characters, which happened every now and then. Belinda Stevens and Michelle Pierson, right? Yes. Both love interest of Matthew Labyorteaux, which you are one of the luckiest women on the planet for anyone who lived during that era and beyond. But I heard that you initially auditioned for the episode I Remember, which we actually recapped last week as the young Carolyn Ingalls. And as an actor, I want to know, what were these audition processes like? Do you remember the audition?
Well, I mean, Matt remembers it very well because he says that he wanted me to be the one because I was the only girl that didn't step on his feet because I was a dancer.
For I Remember.
I love that.
And so, yeah. And we kind of had a crush on each other, like, from then until we were like 18. So
Oh my God.
and we've been friends ever since. We're still very, very, very good friends. So anyway, so yeah, he's the godfather of my second daughter. So
I think that's awesome.
he's a great guy.
So
but,
did you actually
yeah, started
audition
there.
together with?
Yes,
with
we
him?
did. We auditioned because he was auditioning for Albert.
Oh, of
And then,
course.
Yeah, he was
Yeah,
auditioning to play. No, not Albert. Sorry,
To play
young
Charles,
Michael
young
Landon.
Charles.
To play young
Yeah.
Charles. And that was what he first did before he played Albert. So he did end up doing that, and then they cast another girl to do young Caroline, but
Katie Kurtzman.
that's right, Katie Kurtzman. Oh my God. I
Katie
remember her.
Kurtzman.
Yeah, I remember her. Yep, a fellow child actor. And then and then I don't know, I came back, I guess, for Belinda, and
Did they invite
the
you
new,
back, or
new
did you
Nellie.
have to audition again for that one? I remember you.
I can't remember, but I think I auditioned, but I don't know, maybe not. But yeah, I think I did. I mean, I'm pretty sure I did. I don't remember actually. I'd have to ask my
A
mom.
hot minute ago, yeah.
They might have just called her, or they might have said, "Here, read this. We think you should be this. Just read,
Yeah.
like, have you read it for 2 minutes and go, yes, yes." And everyone is still like, "Oh, they locked her in the ice house." So it's the girl.
Exactly. They almost killed her.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that they brought you in twice to be a love interest for well, actually 3 times to be a love interest for Matt. The first time it didn't work, but the second and third time it did. You mentioned the connection. People would see that in a meeting for sure. I mean, I think Matt is such a wonderfully organic actor. He's so authentic in what he presents, and in watching these episodes, Melora, you were wonderfully authentic with him. A little taller than he is, but wonderfully authentic with him. What talk about that chemistry a little bit? What
Yeah,
you
I mean,
saw in him.
we really were good friends. And by the time I did look back to yesterday, I mean, I would go to his house we would swim at his house, and I would go for birthday parties, and he was like super into Pac-Man, and we would play Pac-Man on his Pac-Man machine.
Oh, he had a Pac-Man machine?
Oh,
He
yeah.
had a Pac-Man game like in his
Oh,
house.
my
He was
God.
like a Pac-Man champion. Like he literally was like a world champion. He was that good at it.
That's
Because
so
he was
great.
so
I remember.
obsessive with things that he would just
Yeah.
get into, and he'd just be like, he would just do it all the time. So I think that for us it was just a great thing, and I think we both were super nervous. I think that was our first. I think that was our first screen kiss. Both of us was with each other.
Really?
In that episode.
Very, very nice moment, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
it's
is.
just a
It's
really lovely
sweet.
moment.
It's really sweet. And I remember Michael Landon coming up and being like, okay, so he was just so sweet. I just remember him being like, okay, so you two just need to just need to. He could feel that we were both so nervous. We were so nervous. And we were both so, and Matt was at that time in his life, like he was very, when he got nervous, he just wouldn't look at me. He just would not look at me. He would not connect with me. He was just very just very in his own little world, and I remember just being like, oh my God, how's this going to go?
And I think that's a part of Matt's thing, is that he is able to go into his own, but be totally present as he's completely detached from
As he goes on.
what's
Yeah,
going on around him. I just think that
yeah.
that's a part of his magic. We saw that in I Remember. I mean, how he just sort of wouldn't look and sort of stumbled around, but it was so charming the way.
Yeah, he's a really talented actor, and especially just a child actor. The way he was so in the moment. He was so deep and so connected, and he wasn't watching himself at all. He was never watching himself. He had no self-consciousness about that. So you just was so in the believability of the pretend of the moment of, it was beautiful. He really was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious, Melora, how you've been in this since you were 6 years old and you started acting. I'm just wondering how you have watched television, film, the theatrical world that you're a part of. How have you watched that evolution take place? What are you seeing now? What are the changes that you have seen in all this? Because I think from a viewing standpoint, television has obviously changed dramatically in terms of how it's delivered, or not how it's delivered. Yes, how it's delivered, the streaming versus the network model. But what do you see in the whole creative side of it now?
Well, I mean, I think that even to be honest, Michael Landon was the first sort of experience I had as a child where I noticed that he had sort of like a whole team of people that he had around him. And you could see how much he relied on this sort of crew that he really, really knew. And they really, really knew him. And there was a real respect and a lot of joy and communication that was unique at that time. I didn't really see that. It might have just been that I wasn't old enough to really get it. And then I was by the time I was on Little House. But I loved that about Michael, and I felt like he was very warm. He was very embracing, and I feel like then when then there was sort of like period of time where I didn't feel that, and then there was sort of like the new version of that, which I think was with The Office, where just Greg Daniels even had a couple of the writers be the actors on the show, as BJ Novak and Mindy Kaling and Paul Lieberstein were all writers, and Larry I'm just forgetting Larry's last name right now, but really, really amazing writers who also were actors, and there was this incredible respect, and again, even a deeper collaboration between the writers, the actors, the crew. And I found it again, I found it even earlier than that with Clint Eastwood. He did the same thing. I Was an Absolute Power. Same kind of like incredible, just team that he really felt this bond with. And you could feel that it would be literally like if the Grip had something to say, he would listen because it was the Grip that he has done 7 movies with or whatever. And I felt that way with Michael Landon too. And I remember that. So I think that in a way that has evolved into more and more. I see that in shows, Joey Soloway was like that when we were making Transparent, in terms of just the way that people are inclusive of the actors, or not just the actors. Whereas when I was a kid, it was like the actors were kind of in their little box, and then the crew was in their box, and then and I feel like it's gotten more blurred in a really positive way, and more collaborative, I think, over the years. Yeah.
What a nice thing to hear. I mean, I think that's the way to do it, You're as good as the person you're working with, and if everyone is upping each other, then you're going to get the best product.
And we saw that teamwork with Michael, where the crew followed him from Bonanza and on, to see that kind of thing is still happening, that there are people creating that kind of relationship. It's like a relief. Okay, the quote of yours that we all are loving is "I'm a character actor in a leading lady's body." You have done so many things. I mean, talk about not typecast. And we're just we just talked about the thing of transparent.
I
That
was,
like
I was,
how in
yeah.
what you've done
Before we started
everything.
rolling, I was talking to them about how much I
Right.
admire you and transparent.
Oh, thanks,
And there's
thanks.
someone who's done anything you will, but you're gorgeous. And normally it's, and now you do this, and oh, you're this type of person, so you do this. But you've done everything. How do you do that? And do you feel weird being? I'm a character
Just
actor.
spill all of
Being
it, Melora.
character
How do you do
actor
that?
in Leading Lady's Body.
There
It's
are
amazing
so many,
to
this
navigate that.
business is so many gatekeepers, and it's not that you're, I was saying this before we started recording, it's that, so many actors have the versatility, but they don't get the opportunity. And there's so many gatekeepers, and if they see you as one way, it's very difficult to be seen any other way. And I was talking about your role in Transparent. You're not even recognizable in that role, right? You're so different than the Office, your comedic chops, and you have so many dramatic things. And the reason that you had the opportunity to do this is really amazing to me. So I guess that's what we're sort of trying to tap into.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to fight for those things.
Yeah.
You know that the world sees you a certain way, and if you actually want something, you then have to prove that you can be that other person in a way that is, undeniable to them.
Yeah.
And that's really how that went as far as with Transparent. I tapped into the character. I knew I loved the character, and I had just said to my husband 2 weeks before, what I really, it was maybe more like a month, but I said I just really want to cut my hair off, and I can't cut it off until someone hires me to cut it off because everyone wants me to be with my hair long. And then one of the main things it said about the character was must be willing to cut all of her hair off.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God. But I also just really connected to the character. I one of my best friends in high school basically was that character. And so I basically was just playing her.
Wow.
And she just spoke to me. I just resonated completely. I knew exactly who that person was. And I just went for it 100%. I was mostly getting offers at that point. I wasn't even reading for things mostly. And I just sort of was like, you know what? I'll come in and read for this. Yeah. Because I knew that they needed to see, I knew it was such a different person, and I knew that I could convince them. And then we did a chemistry read with Amy Landecker and myself. And that was just I just knew exactly who I was in that thing. And I just came in and I just dominated and I just dominated the whole situation. And I walked out of there oh yeah, I'm definitely getting that.
So did you cut your hair off before the meeting or after the meeting?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, I didn't do that. But I wanted the character to have tattoos. So I did put fake tattoos on, and I did wear men's clothes. I kind of I think I binded my breast. I wanted to look very, very butch. And so I did a lot of physical things that as much as I could without cutting my hair off. But I think I wore it in a ponytail. I think I basically got rid of it,
Mm-hmm.
It was fun, no jewelry, I'm a dancer. So to me, that character is just very physical.
Yeah.
I just totally get her. And one of the descriptions of her was she has the biggest balls of anyone on the set. And so I just was like, oh, I get that. So I just walked around like I had a really big pair of balls.
Wow. Wow.
I think most of our viewers of anything, they really don't understand process and the motor that runs all of this for an actor. I sense that you've thought a lot about that. What is the motor for you? And because you're willing to be seen in a lot of different ways, and you're willing to risk that. And that's a huge thing, that you are willing to take the chance that maybe it doesn't work, but you need to step in.
Right.
Maybe that is the motor.
I think as actors, you know, we have to be, I'm always 150% in. Like I'm in. When I'm in, I'm in. I'm not like half in or partially in or kind of in. Like I'm in, and I'm an intense person, and I'm just like, so that's, you know, that's a thing, right? That's like a real thing. But I also just I'm very much like I always have said, I'm an actor who works from the outside in. I need to really see who I am. I need to see the character. It's very important to me, the kind of clothes that I wear, the way my makeup is, the way my hair is, the kind of shoes that I wear. The environment around me, and before I have the environment, I'm creating it in my imagination. I keep all that stuff very alive for me, and it's very much part of my. That's very much part of my how I create a character is very much like hooking into a feeling space about the character, which is in my body. It's a body centric. I don't like to do a lot of like intellectualizing and psychoanalyzing. That doesn't work for me. I totally get that. And I can do that. Certain characters need you to do that. Like characters that are something like a physicist or a scientist, you have to do something that's just not in your wheelhouse. So I would, or even language that isn't your language at all, then I would really pick it apart and really get inside of it and learn that. But then I would let it completely go again. I would have to completely be so in it that I could not even think about it.
I'm going to just ask you, what was the fascination? What was the thing that lit the desire to act, to perform?
Yeah.
What was that trigger for you? Do you remember what that was?
Well, I mean, I started ballet when I was 5, and I was really, I saw the Nutcracker, and my mom took me and I was in the lobby in the intermission dancing and I was just dancing for everyone as if I were that ballerina on stage. And I didn't care that people were stopping and looking at me. I was just going and going and going. And that was when I started ballet. And then the acting thing happened because my mom was dropping off or my dad were dropping off their headshots. Both my parents are actors.
Yeah.
And I think my dad's been on Little House
Your
too,
dad's
actually.
been on Little House
Jerry
a
Hardin.
few times.
Yes, a couple of times I think he has, yeah. And my mom was an acting teacher for Leonardo DiCaprio when he was a kid, and River Phoenix and Joaquin Phoenix and Maggie Gyllenhaal and Jake Gyllenhaal and Molly Ringwald and Elizabeth Berkley, and I mean on and on and on. It goes on and on. So yeah, I just was in while they were dropping off their new headshots, and the agent, the commercial agent, I think, said, "You're so cute. Don't you want to do what Mom and Dad does?" And I was like, yeah. And apparently I just bugged them and bugged them and bugged them and bugged them. And as actors, they were reticent to let me get into it because they felt that there was so much rejection to have to deal with. And then they finally were like, "Oh my God, she's so annoying. Let's let her go on 10 auditions. And if she doesn't get anything, we'll ease her out of it. She'll never know the difference." I got the first thing I went on. So
so many actors will say, "Oh no, I'm not going to put my kid into it." But when you're a child and you're saying, "No, I have to do this thing," and demanding that the parents do it, that I hear that story all the time. We'll let her go on an audition and it won't work out. And we'll get over it.
Yeah.
And then, of course you did, of course. Because,
Exactly.
I think the interesting thing about
how old were you when you started acting? Because you were young too.
Yeah, about 5. I started with first commercials.
Oh, so yeah,
Screen
you were
Actors
really young.
Guild card says member since 1967.
Wow.
Yeah.
and Pamela, how about you? When did you start?
I probably about 8 or 9, but I got out of it because I was very uncomfortable around the energy of the showbiz kids and their mothers. Because my mom was an actor too, but we just weren't like that. Like I wanted it so bad, but I didn't like being in the competitive nature of it. And I don't think I was quite ready to fully audition yet to have that kind of confidence of walking into a room. I was actually quite shy with a lot of performing for a little while when I was smaller. It took me a while to develop into not being fearful of auditioning, and you have to not be afraid of auditioning because that's 90% of the business.
Yeah.
I also feel like this is sort of kismet for you in a way, Melora, and well, actually for Allison and for Pamela, the three of you. Your parents were all involved in this, and when you're stepping in as a kid, it's really their career for you because you can't do anything without them willing to get you there, to be the guardian, or you have to get a guardian. I mean, it's a very involved process, which can be, I mean, Allison, you've been around a lot of horror stories with this. I mean, where parents and young actors, it just goes sideways for them. The fact that it worked out is a really fortunate thing.
Yeah.
For the three of you, that you've come through it and, you know, you have your independent agency. You have your lives, and you were able to evolve away from your parents on this.
That's a tough one. I was going to ask how you did that, because you train, as they say, you're transitioning from the child actor. You just kept going. You just did not stop working, and we were all laughing, looking through IMDb, going, "And what does she not do?"
The woman has done everything. You have done everything. It's incredible.
That's very rare. There's not usually, there's a stopping point where they're getting, and then they come back. You just kept right on going, and very, very successfully. And while apparently fully keeping your sanity and your happiness and your health together.
Is that true, Melora? Have you kept your sanity and happiness?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would say I would, hugely credit my parents for that. I mean, they were both very hyper focused on me being the craft. They were focused on the craft and what it really meant to be an artist. I mean, that was what was valued in my family, was being an artist, really over everything else. And actually the fame part was something I had to grapple with and figure out how to embrace it and welcome it into my world. Because I think when I was younger, I actually spent a lot of time kind of being like a lot of like this. I think I was very similar to you, Pamela. I was sort of scared of it. I didn't like the idea of like intrusive, like people looking at me. I like to look. I like to sit and people watch. And I didn't want to be constantly looked at in my normal life. And so I had to finally come to peace with the fact that I did want it because of the opportunities that it was going to give me, because I needed more creative stimulation, and so I finally put this hand down and just kept using this one. I think that's probably how it just all, and I'm just grateful that I had amazing friends. I had amazing therapy. I was really interested in therapy really young. I really liked the idea of digging deep into who I am and what it takes to make a person tick. And I think that was I just am grateful that I happen to be someone who's hungry for that and likes that and enjoys that and isn't fearful of that, is more like drawn to it. And I think that's part of what kept me working through those years of like teenage years and then young adulthood and ingenue and then leading lady. And, there wasn't a break, because I was like growing and expanding, and I was expanding into the people that I looked like so that I could be cast as the people that I could embody, because you can't embody everybody, but you can embody certain people. And I was sort of matching, my life experience was matching the characters that I could embody. And so it was making it so that I had more tools in my tool belt, and they were available to me. And there was a seamlessness to that, I think, because of, starting with my parents and then the great teachers that I had in dance, really being, for the longest time, I was a ballerina. I was going to be a ballerina, and acting was my hobby. So I was never focused on like it being, a way to get famous. It was more like an art and a craft. And I loved the craft of it very, very young. And I think, so I think that's sort of.
Yeah. I think the focus on the work is probably what so helped that your parents did that. I've never heard an ex-child star say they hated acting, or that it made them unhappy later in their life, or made them feel crazy because of the work. It was always the fame, the publicity machine, the interactions with people in the industry that were the problem. So the fact that your parents said, no, we're going to focus on actually doing the thing, acting, and on the craft and becoming an actor, and the other stuff is back burner, that's extremely healthy. That's much more healthy.
It really
And
was.
also that your self-worth and self-validation wasn't based on whatever job you got, which is something that
I know.
if kids
I know. No,
that
I say
instill-
that all the time. I'm like, it's amazing that I've been an actress since I was 6 and a ballerina since I was 5. And I never had an eating disorder or you know what I mean? Like I didn't have body dysmorphia or like I just didn't have that. And that does start at home. That is for sure, like that's coming from, your home life and the commitment to, and also that they were committed to helping me have a normal childhood. I had a very normal childhood. Like, even though I was on sets, I really did. I had a really great childhood full of tons
That's
of
awesome, Melora.
normal childhood things,
The only child.
I think
or
we need to take a
ex-child-
little, Pamela, we need to take a little break.
We will take a
Right.
break. I was just
And
going to
we'll
say that.
come back and talk more about craft and other parts of your career
No, we're gonna
that are
talk
really,
about-
really fun.
Speaking of fame, we'll talk about The Office when we come back. But I was just going to say that the only child actors, ex-child actors that I know that grew up to be healthy, happy, whole, rounded human beings are the ones whose parents said, if I ever hear you bragging about this, you're not doing it again. If you are going to school, like they made sure they were quote unquote normal, even though they're doing this fantastic job. And on that, we will take a quick break and we will be back with Melora Hardin.
From the pioneers to the presidents. Explore beautiful wildflowers, hike through iconic Hollywood locations, and end your day aboard the actual Air Force One at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library and Museum. Throughout the summer, take the Little House 50th Anniversary Tour at Big Sky Movie Ranch. Less than 15 minutes from Los Angeles and 30 minutes from Universal Studios.
Okay, well, I love that. That certainly people might have thought you were an overnight success when The Office came to be. That is what sort of got you the thing that sparked the name recognition of who you are. Again, you were working nonstop since you were 6 years old, but it is amazing how you've been a part of very significant cultural phenomenons in your career. Little House being one of them, and also
For sure.
the Transparent being one of them, but definitely The Office. And Jan Levinson is one of the wildest arcs in television history, going from poised, severe corporate VP, obviously, to a candle-making, babysitting force of nature. So when you started that role, did you know it was going to transform into that? Were you aware of the arc that your character was going to go through, or did they recognize who you were and knew that they could play with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a collaborative environment. I think a lot of the things that happened with Jan were because of me, because I was playing her, and because Larry Wilmore, who played Mr. Brown on The Office, is who I was trying to think of earlier.
My parents' dog is named after him. Yes.
Yeah, and Larry, was, he really, I mean, all the writers were just phenomenal on that show, but I think Larry really got Jan, and I think Greg Daniels really got Jan. And Greg and I would talk a lot about Jan, and like when I was first on the show, I was just a recurring character. I wasn't a regular. They made me a regular in the second season, and so at the beginning, everyone was a little like, I don't like how is this going to work with, because on the pilot, me and Greg and Steve were all having lunch, and we were like, there's some weird chemistry between Michael and Jan that, like, if we get picked up, because we didn't know we were going to get picked up, if we get picked up, and the only reason we got picked up is because Kevin Riley, who was one of the execs, got behind the show, and the show was one of the first shows to ever be released on iTunes, which is before Netflix, before Amazon, before any of these streaming services. Right. iTunes was the first place that people saw a streaming show, and we had only done 6 episodes, and Kevin Riley was like, he just thought the show was brilliant. And I'm still grateful to Kevin Riley because he really pushed the show. And then it was on iTunes, and it was the most streamed show on iTunes ever, even though that was like a new thing. And that was how we got a pickup. And so we came back, and then it was like, learning about me, and there's many things in my character that are really me. I mean, the dinner party episode,
Oh my gosh.
part of it is like, the candle thing is because I had Greg and his wife, Suzanne, over for dinner with Paul Feig and his wife, and had the whole house ablaze with candles because I love candles. And so I think that was inspired by my love of candles. And then also, I had my second CD that I made, which is called Purr, is sort of, they're all songs I wrote, but they sound very 50s, sort of tongue-in-cheek, kind of Doris Day, like that. And I had a friend paint a picture of me that was sort of a rip-off of a Gil Elvgren painting, who was one of the first pinup painters in the 50s. And it's the cover of my CD, but he painted this big painting, and I hung it in my living room. And I remember saying to Greg, I often think people might come in here and they might think I'm serious about this painting. Like that's because it's a very seductive, I'm in this very seductive pose, and I've got these kittens around me, and I'm all like, like very voluptuous and very, and I'm like, people might think like that's like I got a painting of myself like that, but it's the cover of my CD, and it's perfect. And I thought it was funny. And then he put the Warhol of Jan, they go up the stairs and Jan shows them the Warhol of Jan. So those were, a lot of those things were inspired. Even the boob job, her getting a boob job, was also inspired by a comment that I made about another cast when we were at the upfronts. And I was like, looks like all the women in their cast have boob jobs. And I don't think anyone in our cast does. And it was just so funny, like to get, he just is really brilliant at collecting and then putting it into,
That must have been so much fun getting the script and seeing.
Oh yeah. No, it was great. And I'm not even sure that I totally got it, how much it was like me until in retrospect.
After, yeah. So you were saying that was a crazy transition, all of a sudden being a actor name recognized, famous.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, it went from being, did we go to high school together to like,
right.
all that everyone gets, that, and then it became, aren't you that girl on that show? And then it became, aren't you Jan on The Office? And then it became, aren't you Melora Hardin?
Yeah, that's
So it was a very interesting.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's how it tracks.
Wow.
Very interesting.
Well, the listeners of this podcast will always and forever know you from Little House on the Prairie.
Yes, that's probably true.
When I saw you on Transparent, I was like, oh my God, Little House.
That's great. I love that.
Allison, you were talking about, you were fascinated with what Melora did on Monk.
Yeah.
Monk fan.
fan.
Yeah. Well, because Trudy is held up as this angel, because we spend how long with him talking about Trudy this and Trudy that and Trudy that, and she's gone. The whole premise is, and that she's just this angelic, super walks on water, and then now she's real and she's there. How do you navigate that? How do you then be a real person when we just sat there listening to how this woman is a saint for how many decades?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it was just, that was again, like the way they dressed me and sort of the way that, and also a lot of it was in flashbacks. So, that was easy to sort of play the sort of sweetness and the love that they had for each other. And Tony Shalhoub was just like a dream and a half.
I love him too.
Oh, he's just one of the most amazing, grounded, down to earth people, who's also an amazing actor. And we just had a great connection. It was like super effortless, and very, just very easy and really easy. Yeah, really lovely. Yeah. And then they wrote a really cool episode for me where I got to play an actress who was impersonating Trudy. And that was incredible because I had to wear like I think my eyes were brown. The actress was supposed to be brown, so I had to wear contacts to be brown-eyed, but which was part of how he knew that it wasn't really Trudy,
Right.
but he was for a minute thought he was going crazy and that it was Trudy and she was back. And so it was a very cool episode that they wrote for me, which probably Andy Breckman maybe was because he was like, I want to give Melora something really fun. You know? I should ask him about that actually. I just did their new show. Andy Breckman and Randy Zisk have a new show called Einstein that I just did a guest starring thing on for them that and Tony's going to be on the show too, which is super cool. So
that show.
It's really great. Monk fans are going to absolutely love it. It's really good. Yeah, it's really good. So I'll probably go back on that show as well. But super fun.
I want to ask one more thing back to Prairie for a second, because I know our listeners will want to hear. And then I have to ask you about Hannah Montana, because
Yes, do the Hannah Montana
those
quiz.
who are younger than we are will kill me if I don't ask you about Hannah Montana. But back to the Prairie for just a second. I want to know, what was it like working with? Were you working with Dean at all, and all of those other kids on the show? Was it a welcome?
We did not interact
You guys didn't
at all
interact
together.
in any of those episodes.
Miss Allison Balson, my hideous adopted sister.
Yes.
Who I love so much.
Yes.
For Nellie.
That's right.
Hopefully those were all good, welcoming experiences.
I was actually sad that you weren't on the show, Allison, because you were my favorite character.
Well, of course she was.
You were. I just loved what a
No-brainer.
brat you were. I thought you were just the best brat. And I wonder how you, like as a child, how did you deal with being so hated? Did you love it, or did you get it? Did you love it?
Oh
or
no,
did you
I got
kinda
it.
hate
I got it.
Yeah.
Again, like I said, I've somehow weirdly been a character actress as a child. It was,
Yeah.
I was raised on villains. I liked
Yeah.
Vincent Price as a child. I watched
Yeah.
Peter Pan, and I thought Captain Hook was the best part. I just right away. I liked villains, and I liked the funny villains. Like I said, Captain Hook, and Cyril Richard. And so when I was, I'm the villain. I'm the villain. I'm the villain. And yes, I was. I was.
That makes sense, because you really did it so gleefully, and I think that's why I loved you so much, because you were gleeful in the way you played.
Yes.
He Hannibal Lectered it.
You were, yeah. And I just always
enjoyed
loved it. I just loved it. You were just,
I'm
you were
still
brilliant.
enjoying. People come up and say, I hate you, and I say, thank you, you're too kind. I'm still totally into it. I loved it. And when I left, I was like, oh, we talked about it. I was sort of torn. But when Balson came on and she took it, she told me, she said, well, you kind of did bitchy and I thought I'd go for crazy. So is that, and I went,
That's
you
funny.
you have nailed it. And
Yes, yes.
so
That's
seeing her, how much fun was that, having this horrible child and locking her
Yeah.
back into this and
It
that?
was totally
enjoyable.
fun. I mean, she was so nasty and naughty too, and took it to a whole different level. And
Yes,
you
yes,
know,
she did.
she was wonderful. I mean, I enjoyed her, and I thought it was, it's great that she was, jealous of the whole like Albert Belinda connection. She
Yes.
didn't like that at all, but yeah, she was a very serious little actress, I seem to recall back then. I
right.
remember that. Yeah, very serious, very thoughtful young lady. Yeah.
Speaking of serious, so Pamela, speaking of serious young ladies, how about Hannah Montana?
Okay, listen.
We gotta know.
Going for team, this is for you. Okay. That's our social media team. And also, there's a huge, Little House on the Prairie has really become multi-generational. So we really do have a lot of really young fans still.
Yeah.
Also. And they wanted to make sure we brought up Hannah Montana. It's celebrating its 20th anniversary. And so it got us thinking that you really do have a knack for being in shows that define generations. This being one of them. I mean, who knew, right? So what does it look like? What does it look like for you to look back and seeing a show like Hannah Montana, really massive legacy right alongside Little House and these other shows that you've been on, and The Office, obviously.
Right. Well, the movie was great. It was, my memory of it mostly was just that Miley, I remember Miley coming into the into the makeup trailer, and she played the demo of The Climb. And I remember being like, this is an amazing song, like an amazing song. And I actually do The Climb sometimes when I do a cabaret show or something.
Awesome.
I'll sing The Climb because it's such a great song. It can mean so many things, and it can have so many, when I sing at charities or something, sometimes it really works for a lot of different things. But it was a great experience. I mean, she was 15, and and I remember being on the red carpet after that, and people being like, well, what do you think of Miley and doing the layout that she did with her father in Vogue and Vanity Fair, and I remember just being like, she's 15. She's like working it out. Like she's a young woman who's figuring it out, finding her sexuality, moving from being cutie Hannah Montana to being a young woman. Yeah. And so I just was like, look, she's one of the hardest workers I've ever worked with. She was 15. She was working her butt off. She was in the recording studio. She was on the set. She was just busy and working and focused. And Taylor Swift came on and was on that movie. And, Taylor was, also just in her bus. And I just remember being like, wow, she was just kind of not the Taylor Swift that she is now, just starting out really. And not just starting out, but she wasn't Taylor Swift like she is now. And I just was so impressed with both of those young women, how focused and how strong and how, they were just really doing themselves in front of thousands and thousands and now millions and millions of people. And that's a very hard, I didn't do that. Yeah. I worked consistently, but as I said, I held that way back because that wasn't how I was going to be doing all of that experimenting and figuring and finding. I wasn't going to be able to do it in front of a spotlight. I needed my privacy, but they do it. And that takes like a real certain kind of personality that I always thought was very remarkable. Yeah. Remarkable.
And in a day and age where there's no privacy. So everything's on social media, everything's on the internet. You don't have alone time to figure out who you are, make stupid mistakes.
That's right. That's right.
Or no one else knows. Now you make a stupid mistake and the entire world knows. And it's just
you do it live online. You work out your personal psychological issues and your sexuality live on Instagram.
Let's transition because we're running. We've got so much we want to talk about. Let's talk about Broadway. Let's talk about live performance. You've really had some wonderful opportunities. I was watching some YouTube video this morning of you playing Roxy Hart, and wow, what fun! What fun! You appeared to be having a wonderful time.
Yeah, I really was. To be dancing, singing, and acting 8 times a week was was just a delight for me. And I loved it so much that on Chicago, your day off is Wednesday. And I got food poisoning on Wednesday, and I threw up all night Wednesday night, and it was so unpleasant. And I was just had terrible cramps. And I called the stage manager on Thursday morning and I said, look, I'm still not better, but if I can do the show and not vomit on myself or the audience, I am coming in tonight. And he was like, no, just let this, let your understudy do it. Like there's so, and I was just like, no, you don't understand. I'm coming in unless I can't do it.
You're not giving up that 8th.
That one show that I wasn't going to miss. Yeah, I wasn't going to miss one show. And it, part of it was because, it was the most unpleasant show I did for sure. But I did get through it and the audience still applauded at the end.
Yeah.
So.
Yes.
So now how long, because you fit this in, obviously, between you're working on The Office at that time. You fit this in. I understand your put-in process. I did Into the Woods in 1988. It did that in New York. That was a 2-week put-in period.
Yeah.
You were put
Same
in.
thing.
Oh, it was but in New York, 2 weeks, but then you did weeks. I understand Roxy Hart is a 4-week put-in process.
Oh, maybe it was.
Two.
I thought it was. I thought it was 2 weeks because I think I did 2 weeks in LA.
There you go.
Learning the dance, basically the dance numbers and all the songs, and then when I went in, I think I had 2 weeks
Yeah,
to
that
to
sounds
In New
to
York.
go.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that's how it went. Yeah.
How terrifying was that put in rehearsal for you? I mean, I don't know, maybe it wasn't terrifying, but my
it's
God,
thrilling.
you're stepping in to a
But also,
load
you're
there.
the right person
Yeah.
for the role. Like they do, they do that stunt casting with Chicago all the time, and sometimes
Yeah,
it's
they
a great
do it really
fit, and
well.
sometimes it's not the best fit, and you're the perfect fit.
Yeah.
You must-
Yeah, no, I mean, I was so excited. To be honest, I was more excited than anything, and
Yeah.
I just I got to do all the Fosse stuff because of my dance background.
Yep.
So for me, it was just like a showcase of things that people had never seen me do, and people didn't know I could sing like that. They didn't know I could dance like that. And that was super fun for me to know that I was going to be able to like
Yeah.
surprise everybody the way I did Barry Weissler, the producer of Chicago, who was like, he came up to me and was like, where have you been and how do you know how to do all that? And I was like, well, I've been doing TV and film and I've been in LA, so I haven't really been, here doing this. But I think that I just said to myself that night, I said, I don't want to miss this. I said it similarly to when I got married. I didn't want to miss my wedding day. Like I know so many people that got so nervous or so needed everything to be so perfect, and there's always the
Worried
things that
about
go
the
wrong or
party.
whatever,
Yeah.
that they miss it. They miss their wedding day. And I did the same thing that I did on my wedding day as I did on my first night on Broadway. And I was like, I want to be present for my first night on Broadway. I don't want to miss this moment. And it doesn't matter what happens or doesn't happen. I want to be here for it.
Yes.
And that was what happened. And then, it was just so funny that like the comfort that I had, that gave me to keep myself present. And then about a week and a half later, I went up on my line somewhere. And you get that, you just get that like shot of adrenaline.
Oh my
and
God.
It feels like it's like 10 minutes, but of course it's, it's 1 second before you or somebody else just gets everybody back on track. And then, my heart was racing, and then I had to climb that ladder, like right after that. And I remember like shaking up that ladder and just being like, oh my God, this is just
Terrible feeling.
But at the same time, I was kind of like, it's good. It's good that it's still like that sometimes. Right? It's still good that it's still like that sometimes.
Magical things can happen in those moments.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
When you're backstage, when you're listening on the intercom, and you get so used to the flow of a show, and you hear it, and it comes, and suddenly on one night, there's a pause. And boy, the backstage gets very quiet, like in a second. It's just because everyone is fascinated to know what is going to happen now.
What happened? Yeah, exactly.
And it's also so random that you could be running a show, and then a random performance, you go up on a line you've never had a problem.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Of course.
Happens all the time.
Yeah.
Of course.
Or like
That's the
messing up a
magic
dance
of it.
step it's
Right.
just it's very interesting. It's a wonderful challenge all the time, isn't it?
Then you got another
Yeah.
opportunity to do
you-
McNeil at Lincoln Center, which was an incredible opportunity as well. I love that you're doing stage too. I think that's really brilliant. How did that opportunity come up for you?
Well, I mean, that was so exciting because it was Robert Downey
Yeah.
Jr.'s Broadway debut.
Yeah.
And, when you do something like that with one of the biggest movie stars in the world, you get to meet some of the biggest movie stars that you've ever met in your life. And Robert is very generous in sharing his friends with all of us. So, his dressing room was here and mine was here, and we had a hallway between us, and I would literally get myself ready so that I could run down to his side of the because the people that flowed through there, and then also just what he did by being in that show. There were people that came to Broadway for the first time ever because of him, and they were enraptured. I mean, they were the most amazing audience because they were just they were just zoomed in on him, and it was packed. It was sold out every night. And one of the young ladies in the show, it was her first professional job ever.
Oh my God.
And I said to her, I said, just so you know, Sasha, it's not always like this. And, you know, and this is really extraordinary that we get a huge standing ovation every night. They leap to their feet every night. They're enraptured, and they're, you know, and they're just they can't even believe that they're here and they're this close to Robert. And so, yeah, I mean, I had a wonderful time working with him and Bartlett Sher, the director, and Ayad Akhtar, the playwright. It was a wonder, and all the other actors. You know, it was just a wonderful environment. It was, you know, because of Robert's schedule, it was a nice tight, you know, schedule, which isn't too bad, you know, when you're doing a new play. It's kind of nice that it can be, you know, the whole thing was, you know, 5 months. So
Wow, from start to finish, the full thing.
Yeah, I mean,
5 months
rehearsal,
there.
you know, and then 4 months a month of rehearsal, 4 months of run. Yeah.
Wow.
It was great. It was really great.
Good for you. Good for you. I mean, we are sort of zeroing in on our time here that we have with you. Where do you see this career of yours going? I mean, do you think about where it goes, or are you just present to what comes? I mean, but how long do you see this going on? You know, I mean, I'm just curious.
I mean, I've been making a documentary for the last 10 years that has also given me another outlet of my creative expression, which is that I have a whole line of wallpaper and upholstery and all this big fine art collages that are like 6 feet by, 5 feet by 4 feet, and like big, huge pieces of art so that is super interesting. And I think the documentary, I keep saying it's going to be out. I keep saying every time it'll be out this year. I really think it will be out this year, but we are really, really close now. And it's a really beautiful documentary about healing and about what it takes to transform trauma, and how two friends can basically sort of do this together. And it's a creative gesture. I think of the movie as an invitation for others to do their own healing. And so I'm always looking for things that are expansive for me, creatively expansive, personally expansive, professionally expansive. And I think I'm manifesting. I'm always committed to that. I'm committed to, being honest. You know, I kind of work on a triangle basis, which is like, it has to be 2 of the 3 things: money, people, material. So it's like, sometimes it's going to be, you know, money and people, or money and material, or just material and people. And that's really nice, you know, to have like a compass, like a true north for myself. So I kind of I guess that's what I'm always going for. And I guess I have a lot of like grounding in what works for me, you know.
Good, Melora. I hope you just keep going for it and going for it and going for it. And this has been so great to be with you for this time.
It's been so nice too. Yeah, and if people want to look at my wallpaper and my storyboard stuff, they can see it on my website. Yeah.
Is it Melora?
Right now it's on my website. Yeah.
And is it Melora.com?
It's just Melora.com.
Melora.com.
Cool.
I'll make sure I write that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have that in the show notes.
And I have candles that I made some candles called Serendipity by Melora to make it fun for everyone. Yeah. So
you're gonna sell so many candles. I want a candle.
Listen, if
I have scarves as
Prairie
well,
related.
my art. Yeah.
Make some Prairie related candle. You're gonna sell out in 24 hours. I'm telling you.
Oh my gosh, that's probably true. I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I want to keep myself entertained. I used to always, I mean, I've taught some master classes and stuff, and I always say to young actors, if you're not entertained, your audience will not be. So I try to keep myself entertained, and I figure that will help.
Awesome.
me being entertaining.
I know I have to wrap this up, but can I ask you one last final question before we
Sure.
wrap it up, which is, we've heard from so many people who were on Little House on the Prairie, even if they just did one episode, but how influential that set was, the way that Michael ran it. Like you were talking about before, the collaborative feeling, the friendships. And I'm curious, as a young actor, did that have any influence on you later on in your career as you were continuing working or directing yourself?
I think it definitely had an influence as a director, I would say, for sure. Just how personable Michael was. You know, he really, really was. And Clint Eastwood, similar, and both of them came from TV, and they both were very, very decisive, quick workers, not screamers, not angry, crazy wackadoodle artists, but really grounded artists who were really joyful in what they were doing, and also decisive. Like, you have to be decisive coming from TV. You can't be messing around for like 3 weeks on one scene when you come from TV. And it was something I loved about working with Michael, something I loved about working with Clint. I mean, Clint, the scene I was doing was quite physical. It was dramatic. It was sexual, and then very violent, and it was like exhausting. And it was, and Gene Hackman, was, I don't know, 30 something years my senior. And he was older, and he was tired, and I was tired even me, and I was young, and we were exhausted one day. I remember Clint looking at us and going, it was like 3:00 in the afternoon, and he was like, how are you guys doing? And Gene was like, I'm a little exhausted. And I said, that's so funny. I was just thinking I was going to go get like a power bar off the craft service table. And Clint goes, yeah. Okay, we're done for the day. Wow. Because he was 4 days ahead of schedule.
He was
because that's how fast he shoots. He shoots so fast. He was like 4 days ahead of schedule. So he could just say, you know what? My actors are tired. We're going to go home. That's a wrap.
Yeah, and he and Michael Landon was also known for having these tightly run. You were done by 5. You didn't do 80,000 takes. You
wanted people to go home for dinner.
Yeah. A million pages a day. People would come to the set and go, this call sheet says you're doing 12, 14 pages. But you're not going to get done. But if I go, well, we did 16 yesterday. I mean, that's what we did. Go now. And now we're done. Now we're done.
Now we're done. Yeah, we don't need 6,000 takes of everything. It's like, when you get it right, you just get it right. If the film, there's no hair in the gate, let's move on.
Right. And it also...
Michael cut the show in the camera. He literally cut the show in the camera.
And it also teaches the actors to become prepared. Come prepared.
Yeah,
really
totally.
Amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for answering that. That's great.
Yeah, of course.
This has been incredible. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was enjoyable. I really enjoyed it.
Everybody go to Melora.com. Get some candles. Get some candles.
Get some scarves.
Get scarves. Yes. Beautiful.
Get some wallpaper.
And wallpaper. And everything that she's doing. This is so great. We really loved having you here. Thank you so much. Everybody join us on our socials, Little House 50 Podcast, or our website, littlehouse50podcast.com. Join us on Patreon. Hopefully Melora will join us for a tiny little segment on Patreon, so we'll talk a little bit longer with her. And like and subscribe, share, give a great review. We'd love that. And we'll see you next time. Bob, get the wig. Let's fly. We're doing airplane arms down the hill.
You want the airplane arms?
Good job. Good job. You're flying, Melora. You're flying.